Welcome or welcome back to Nana's Cookery. I'm still in a pie making mode, and I'm going to make an alternative to a pecan pie called a walnut pie. I actually prefer it. It is done with light corn syrup instead of Caro, walnuts instead of pecans, and it's just a really good pie. It actually comes from this old brand name cookbook, which I think may have been reissued recently. So I've been making it for a long while, and I like it. Let me tell you that when we post the video, underneath that video, I'm going to put all the instructions and the ingredients, okay? So I hope that will help you. I realize it's hard to do it when we're just moving right along in the video. I'm going to mix a half a cup of packed brown sugar in a medium-sized saucepan, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. And I'm going to mix it with a fork because I didn't think to bring a whisk over. So the fork will work fine. And then I'm going to add 1 1/4 cup light corn syrup. And this comes in a bottle called light corn syrup with red. I'll go and get it in a minute and show you. Sorry. I'm going to add this to this mixture because we're going to heat this over the stove, over the cooktop. I want to get all that corn syrup out, and I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of butter. But I'm going to cut it into smaller pieces because anything that you heat like that, it just always does a better job if it's in smaller pieces. And we're just going to cook that until the butter melts. So it will not be very long. It's a very simple pie. It doesn't take very long to put together. Just going to stir it all together. And see what that looks like, but we've still got solid pieces of butter in there. So we're going to cook that over low heat until that butter melts. We're just going to heat this until the butter melts. We're not going to do it at a really high heat. And I'll tell you a pie story. I had cancer in '04. And unfortunately, I was diagnosed with a recurrence in 2011. So my husband and I called our daughter. We just said, are you going to be home tonight after dinner? Are you and Tom and young Tom going to be there? Well, we go to their house, but we don't just stop in. We go frequently when there's a picnic, a birthday party, and I usually take dessert for it. Kath will make everything else, and I will bring the desserts. So we went up. I think my daughter-in-law had called her. I think she knew, because we went to the front door. Went in the front door. I was fine until I saw my daughter. She had tears in her eyes. I had tears in my eyes. We hugged, and I looked at my son-in-law, who looked like a deer in headlights. He could see this was really bad. And he said, "Did you bring dessert?" So we actually all started laughing. And then we cried, and then we laughed again. And then we decided that if you're going to bring bad news, bring pie. That's my pie story. So we're just going to cook this until that butter melts, and it'll only take a few minutes. You can see very similar to pecan pie, which has the dark corn syrup in it and the eggs and the butter, very similar. When I was a young cook and I made something, if it called for whipped cream, I would think, ooh, that's expensive. I better think about that. Well, now it's nuts that are expensive. Anything that you do with nuts, they really have gone up in price, but they make such a difference in things. I always keep a good variety, and I keep them in the freezer. I buy them in bulk, walnuts, pecans, almonds, whatever, and I'm fortunate enough that I have a freezer large enough that I can put them away, and anytime I want nuts, I can take them out. They will get rancid. They will go bad if they're out too long without being frozen. So it's a good idea if you want to have them around to freeze them. We're almost done here. You can see just little bits of butter. Just going to turn that up a little bit for a minute. we're going to beat 3 eggs in the mixing bowl. And those of you who have watched me before know my rule. I never do it directly into the bowl because I've never gone a year without getting a piece of shell in something. So I do it one at a time. I just don't think it's that big a deal to take that extra minute. And I actually got a little piece of shell there. And what I'm going to do is dig it out with the shell. Not so easy as I thought. I did get it. So that's number 2. And now number 3. So that's 3 large eggs. And again, I have to start my year all over again with an egg because I did just get that piece in there. And I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And this is a 1/4 teaspoon. And I'm going to put in 1½ teaspoons. And I happen to have a measuring spoons that do that, of vanilla. And real vanilla, I believe in real vanilla. I know it's expensive. It's more expensive than the imitation. It's just one of the things I believe that when you bake, it's really a quality thing. We're going to beat these eggs. Now, it doesn't say whip the eggs, which would be different. We're just going to beat them, which means that we really want to get them in a good consistent quality. Remember, whether it's mixing, stirring, creaming, you're looking for something that looks the same throughout the mixture. Okay, we've beaten the eggs, and we're going to add the mixture here. I'm going to take this off for a minute. It'll be easier for me. So you can see this went together pretty quickly. Just scrape that really well. Okay, put that back in and just mix that up. So it's a really pretty simple filling. Just want to mix those eggs and the corn syrup and everything together. Now I'm going to pour it into my 9-inch pie shell. And I'm sure I mentioned at the beginning, use any pie crust that you want, but I really do recommend the pie crust that I make with canola oil, which is the first recipe I ever did on YouTube. And I've gotten so many wonderful comments on it. Believe me, it's quick, it's easy, and it's really good. So if you want to go and do that first and come back, you'll be ready to go. But it is a pie shell that has been made but not baked. And we're going to pour the filling into it. Going to give that another little whir. And I'm going to pour it into the crust, and then we're going to put the nuts on top. So let's get all of that in there. This is my problem with doing multiple recipes. I start using all my equipment, and then it's not ready for the next thing. This is chopped walnuts and walnut halves, kind of a mixture. And with the nut pies, with the pecan and the walnuts, boy, they look really pretty if it's all halves. That looks really fancy, but they're so much harder to cut. It's really hard to cut through a nut. And so I think it's a little easier with a mixture of the pieces and the halves. And we're just going to, and this will kind of just sink into the pie. But then as the pie cooks, and this is going into the oven, and this is going in at 350 for, now I've lost it, folks, didn't put it down. It says 40 to 45 minutes until the filling is set. And actually that center of that pie will kind of start to rise as it firms up. So you'll be able to see that. So we'll see you when the pie comes out. Our walnut pie is out of the oven, and I just wanted to show you what it looked like. It will definitely start to puff up in the middle, and when you shake it, there's a firmness to it rather than a looseness. So we'll let this cool, but wouldn't this be nice for Thanksgiving? Thanks for watching. I love having you come to the kitchen. See you again next time.